What's up, everybody? This is your boy Jamal.
I'm Saba.
That was your cue.
You know what's funny is I got distracted trying to go on Twitter to see if you were actually live streaming.
Well, you tell me. But this is Flip-NFTs, where we talk everything NFTs, Web3, blockchain that we've kind of learned over the past week, really 2 weeks. We missed the show, missed the Friday, so there's a lot of content to cover, lots of
Mhm.
surprises. Uh, I guess I'll kick off with you. I'll let you kind of kick off. We'll just kind of ping pong back and forth,
Let's talk about why we missed last week. Is because we were building our own structure. Really, it
right?
was a lot of meetings on trying to figure out what's our approach to building DAOs. I guess because there's no right approach. Everyone's doing their own thing. But it was more so of like, okay, we've been talking about it for quite some time. We're already working within that domain. Now, before we just jump into the smart contract and solidify everything, let's get everyone on a call and figure out. And shout out to this person on Figma who created a DAO canvas that anyone can kind of look up. But we just did that as a team and mapped out how's this really going to work, whether it's treasuries, governance, communication channels, purpose. So I think that's been the number one thing on my mind. Like I know you and Marvin have been heavily focused on smart contracts and tokenomics, but because I've been involved in a DAO now for about almost a year, I was just thinking about like what doesn't make sense in the current ones that I'm involved in, and then if I could reshape that with us, how would that look? Outside of that, I learned how to 3D model, so that was cool. I'm no longer a 2D designer, I'm 3D now. I'm hyped off that. Yeah, but you got a lot more exciting things going on.
Yeah, man. We are live on site in Denver at the ETH Denver event. This is day 2 or day 3. The official event doesn't really kick off until tomorrow, but they have one, two, three, four, 5 different venues. The
You have a
first,
whole pamphlet?
we'll have a. This isn't showing.
That's okay.
There we go, kinda.
That's cool.
But yeah, it's 5 venues. The main venue is called the Castle. It has 4 different floors, 5 different floors, excuse me, with hardware workshops, immersive art experiences, blockchain arcade. They have a gravity stage. They have hacker tables, podcast rooms, so I can podcast from there next week. They have a bodega. They have a chill zone where you
Who
can.
sponsored all this?
They got hella sponsors.
Hmm. Who
Like,
organized it? Who's this organizer?
so the thing about the event, which is what I'm also here politicking for, is to find people who want to do events as well. I met someone who did like the Art Basel in Miami.
Hmm.
We have a meeting scheduled for this week. We just kind of met in passing, or actually, a friend, one guy that I met, friend, I'm calling him a friend now, NFT merchant. You know who you are.
24 hours later.
Yeah, my boy Ali. He introduced me to a guy named Don who does events in Miami. So I want to talk with him just about what we're doing. But you know, ETH Denver is a community-led event. Like, it's not one organizer; it's a DAO itself, right? So it's a DAO to host these events. And so for me,
Smart.
it kind of made me want to. I mean, if you look at the copy and stuff for ETH, I mean, excuse me, EXP.NFT, it's the same. But they've taken it to a whole new level. And so I'm just here learning. I think like they pretty much have like the biggest event. It's supposed to be like 20,000 people here starting tomorrow.
Wow.
So it's just they've been doing this since before NFT NYC. So they have a pretty strong hold just for like Ethereum, which is dope. But Algorand is going to be here. So I think what we can do can probably be a branch of what they're doing. I definitely want to work with some of the guys that are part of this team, to kind of have like have our own offshoot in Los Angeles and other places. Um, I met some guys that's going to like, I guess there's the ETH Austin coming up.
Yeah. I was actually at lunch yesterday with some people from Austin, and I learned a lot. I didn't know that Austin was so big on tech. I guess that was just like my naiveness being from Canada, but I had no idea it was like that.
Yeah, it's huge, huge, huge startup city. But yeah, this whole event, like just, like day one, I kind of like browsed around. Right now it's just at this place called the Art Hotel. That's pretty dope, actually. And they have one floor with like speakers and then like open area to this kind of like network and hack and do all your stuff. And so that alone is information overload, right?
Yeah.
Like, everyone's showing off their projects, what they're working on. Everyone's like Discord popping. Um, I'm a mentor for the event,
That's
so
cool.
I'm gonna be a part of like this blockchain one-on-one booth to kind of help people with their projects, which should be fun. I got my Buffacorn, which is the events like generative avatar project. So that gives me other access to other things. There's companies doing like uh, free food with tokens and stuff like that. So
It's
it's
all an experience.
it is. But one of the things that I'm noticing, like, I wish there were more people who didn't know the space. Like, there are some people who don't know the space that I've kind of bumped into, but they're all local to Denver, right? Like,
They're just passing by to see what's up.
correct, 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 correct. And I think that I'm only 2 days in, right? Like, I'm still gonna go today and see what's up happening today with the same space, listen to all the talks, catch up on work for the week so I can get ahead, so I can like do more of that than actual work.
Mhm.
But again, I want to like usher in, connections for everything that we're doing independently. So they have a whole Zen zone with her DAO,
I love that.
and
Wow.
it's going to be all about It's 24 hours, like every day.
That's beautiful.
Meditate,
That's the only FOMO I have right now.
massages, yoga. They say much more. So I'm gonna check that out. That should be really cool. And it's crazy that it's 24 hours, like it's nonstop. So this is gonna be a pretty crazy weekend. I wish I was like 22 years old and didn't require as much sleeps, but I'm gonna do the best I can, make my rounds, and
Yeah,
pump up everything that we're doing.
that's amazing. I'm pretty excited for you to be out there too. I think it's a great opportunity. Um, you know what you said about you wish that there was people there that weren't from the actual invested in the space as much as they are.
Hmm.
I feel like that was a conversation I had yesterday with someone from Live Nation's touring team and a musician, and they were just asking questions about how NFT editions work or like how we did the ones with Jansport. And it was so interesting because they were like, I'm not against it. It's just so much information that I'm overwhelmed by it that I just haven't been able to take it in. Or every time I've sat down to take it in, I'm overwhelmed by it. And I think if you're not from a technical background or like a techie in any way, it can seem like intimidating or overwhelming. But um, there's ways that I think we can really help break that down and just make it like it's no different than any other mental model that you know today. You just got to break it down in that way.
The crazy thing is that from what I'm hearing and seeing is that even though I believe that to be true, it just moves too fast. It's like
Yeah.
I just tell people, like, you can find an engineer who's fresh out of college, and this is like mid 2000s, and like the things they were teaching you in school sometimes weren't applicable into like what the real world wanted you to code in and how they wanted you to work, or
Yeah.
how startups even worked. And so you had this position. I remember I hired like some engineers who were master students at USC. I gave them internships. And like I'm sitting like, you guys don't know this, you guys don't know that. I'm like, what are they teaching you guys? Like, but I think with this space, because it's moving so fast, like the people have to be interested, you know, yes, you need to learn the basics, but then you have to be interested to keep following it because there's so many quote unquote rabbit holes that you can
Hmm.
go down. I think as long as you stick to, your interest, but you need to really be able to build as well to truly understand it. I think that's one of the key fundamental differences, which is why right now I'm bumping into a lot of traditional Web 2 engineers who are pivoting into Web 3.
Yeah. And a lot of traditional Web 2 startups too. I actually saw a tweet today of a 23-year-old who's she's doing pretty well publicly as far as her involvement in Web 3. And so she tweeted out that she was bummed that a lot of these startups weren't hiring her because she didn't have like Web 3 experience. And someone actually, a peer of mine, asked me like, how do you connect UX designers or designers in general into the Web 3 space? And I thought about it for a week before I replied. I genuinely did. And I responded back and I was like, honestly, you just find a developer that has the same vision as you. Because it's not worth my time going and convincing a startup like, hey, I got Web 3 skills, or hey, I did a Web 3. In my personal opinion, it's not worth it to me, at least, like through my experience. I'd rather just find someone who can build with me and wants to build with me, and we have the same vision and we just build together.
Yeah, I
And
think
then there
there's
you go. I have the project, I have the experience. I don't really need to prove it to anyone or join anyone's startup. I've started my own.
agreed. I think there's also this juxtaposition of like there's a popular term WAGMI, we all gonna make it, right? But there's also this difference of like I mean, people have made the analogy this is like 1997 all over again, right? Like this
Yeah.
the tech boom for like Web 2 or whatnot. And like if you think about it, it was like this old boys club who didn't share information. They created like this silo to, resources XYZ. And I don't think that's the same here, but I do see, hints and undertones of it as well. Where it's like, come on, like, like let's stop all the bullshit. We're all trying to get to a certain place in this, and none of us are experts, right? Like I
You
was
know
listening.
what threw me off yesterday? I thought about this. For a wave that is so open source and so transparent and so like, if you understand the vision, you're all in, right?
Mhm.
A lot of these platforms that are currently being built are tiptoeing around gatekeeping solely because of curation, like the term curation. And I don't know if I'm perceiving it that way, but I started thinking about how if you create platforms where only X amount of content is within it, even ours, like we really want to curate great experiences. We want to curate projects with amazing roadmaps, right?
Mhm.
At what point, I could be overthinking it, but like at what point is it segregated or closed off or gatekeeped in any way? And how do you not make it fall back into like the current issues that we have right now for something that's supposed to be so open source, but you still want to maintain the value of curation?
Um, I don't know. I think we're again like there's probably some tokenized way to structure that,
Yeah.
where everyone can participate, but there has to be some level of curation because you don't want to. I'm not going to say anything wild, but there could be some crazy projects that you just don't believe in from a morals and ethical standpoint or value
That's
standpoint
fair.
that you just don't want to promote or push. So, I think when I look at like Rarible, the founder of Rarible was on stage yesterday. And so I'm listening to him speak and get asked these questions. And like, he pretty much said, like, we were doing other things before in the space, Rarible. We pivoted to, user experience was a really big thing for him for
Hmm.
Rarible, like having something fun and shareable and open. And but the essence of it is it was just timing. Like he was there at an intersection point when he could look both ways across the street. It's like, yo, there really aren't any marketplaces out right now. So let's like dive deep on the marketplace side. And now, we had to ask questions about like, what do you think with all these other marketplaces popping up? Like, how do you? And he's like, they're going to be niche marketplaces. They got some really cool features coming out. Like you're going to be able to like create your NFT DAOs on Rarible, which is going to be
Okay.
really cool. Um,
I
Yeah,
do love their user experience. They've done an amazing job at like onboarding, product design,
he did
the
talk about
steps involved.
music NFTs. He
Yeah.
did talk about music NFTs and why they aren't taking off, which I thought was really interesting.
What's his take?
His take is that music NFTs aren't taking off because we don't consume music the way we consume NFTs, right? Like we consume music from a streaming standpoint, a platform, and like he's
Yeah.
like, if the platforms start baking in NFTs, no, I'm not gonna leave our project in that space out of this for a moment. But he's like, if the platforms baking NFTs, then you'll see you may see more of a boom, but then there's going to be so much friction between the platforms, the owners of the NFT, and the listeners that he's not sure why it's not going to work. So they're actually thinking they have music NFTs on Rarible, and him and his one of his colleagues were on stage just saying like, that's something that they're really unsure of why it isn't working, but it's probably because we consume music in a different way.
We're spoiled. We're 100% spoiled in the way that we consume music, our access. And I was trying to explain how distribution pools work to this artist yesterday. And I was like, think about the pennies that Spotify gives you, and then think about now that it's going into a distribution pool through your rights management, and that's getting paid out. So it's like, from the artist side, it's lose, 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 lose. From the consumer side, it's win, 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 right? The part where it gets like foggy for me is when you're an artist and a consumer in one, and so you feel and see both sides of the coin. And I think the reason why music NFTs haven't popped off is because people have a hard time understanding why they need to value music at that level if there's monopolized platforms. It's almost like,
Well, it's
well, if they
also
don't value it, why
well,
should I? Or if that's the
it's
system
also the
built for me.
ownership. It's also the ownership. Like, do I
Yeah.
really need to own the song?
I
Right?
think
Like,
publishers might start thinking that they do. People
well,
who
well, we're not
want their
publishers.
hands in their
Not
pockets, they
publishers.
might.
Listeners, as a
Yeah,
listener.
listeners don't see that value yet.
Well, that's the thing. As a listener, unless I'm really getting paid from the song and from the spins, and if it gets placed in a movie, why do I really want to own this song? Right? Like, I don't need to own the song. I want to hear it, not own it, because music is also something that is also.
Yes and no. So here's the thing. I think we rely so much on the internet just being present and being around. So if you could tell me that, like right now we have offline downloads. So I know if I go take a flight or if I go to a country where I don't have access to the internet, it's cool. Spotify got me because I got offline downloads, right?
Mhm.
Or I can prepare for that. But in a world where offline downloads don't exist, like let's just assume that Spotify's gone, Apple's gone, like all that's gone for some reason, whatever reason. Outside of my little vinyl crate that I got back home, how am I listening to music? We don't walk around with like cassette tapes anymore. We don't walk around with MP3s.
That's a tough scenario to describe, because not only are those platforms so major to think about them going away, there are also other offshoots in like YouTubes and video clips and
So we're
all.
spoiled where you have access. You have so much access
Well, it's not the fact that
that's
we're
granted to
spoiled.
you.
It's not the fact that we're spoiled. Well, I mean, you could use the word spoiled, but I'll add another word to the bunch, which is we've gotten away from actually tangible music, right? Like you mentioned your vinyl collection or your CD player or the cassette tape. Like we don't that's semi ownership, right? There's
Because it's an inconvenience unless you make it an experience or you make it part of your daily habit. It's like an inconvenience for someone to carry around their collection. It's an inconvenience. Like there's reasons why
well, I mean,
Apple did really well selling the iPod, is
what
that we're
about
giving you a better experience.
what about the radio station? Like people can still just turn on the radio for free and listen to music, right? So I think when you think about like the history of how music has been distributed, to get to this point, it's like there really is no true way to go backwards to fix everything. I mean, someone could try to reimagine it. That'd be great. I would love to
You
see
know
it.
where I think the best way that I would love to reimagine it myself, to be honest with you, is ownership, because it comes down to music collaboration ownership. Like a consumer at this point in time might not value ownership. They might not even want to claim ownership. But if you and I work on a project together, and we're not going to talk about the splits right off the bat, right? Because that's going to ruin the creative process. No one wants that in their collaboration process. But now I'm in a situation where that gets placed. And because it's placed so highly, or there's a sample involved, I'm getting shares lower and lower and lower, right? Or there's other people that are coming into doing other things. And so then there's no way for me, outside of that person being earnest and having integrity that I worked with, there's no way for me to validate or in any way certify that like those were my drums, that was my loop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the percentage of how much that was used in the song, right?
Yeah, so
A lot
there's
of people don't want to get into that because it ruins the creative process, but that's the true value that I personally see, is like me being able to say, you know what, actually my drums took up this amount of the song, or my loop took up this amount of the song, or those were mine and they were from my machine.
so I agree from a collaborator standpoint, it definitely can have a lot of value, but there's no real but. So you have to think about it like this: like between as a group of collaborators, yeah, you want to have a smart contract, some type of NFT to keep everyone accountable, so you can have your trustless. You don't have to trust that person. You can just trust this small contract. Great. I think that'll work really well. But what the founder of Rebel was more so referring to was the consumer end, right? Like, why aren't NFTs taking off from the consumer standpoint? And I don't know. I think you have to. I think we have a pretty good concept of what we're building that we'll test the market and see how that does. I think it'll actually work really well. Um, but at the same time, I'm hopeful, very hopeful for the music NFT space, and I think
So
that what's going to probably happen is there might not be a Spotify anymore. There might not be, and like you said, but there has
I
to be.
think they both have to, for some amount of time, both Web 2 and Web 3 have to exist. Like my boyfriend says
Or
this very well, and he's like, there's no point of eliminating one. They're all sources of revenue for creative. They're all
they are,
plays.
unless Spotify or Apple Music, which I think Apple is getting into the NFT space, unless they open up their platform to work within that space and add a little bit more. This is like the time I feel like when Apple and not really Apple, but Spotify can be compared to like MySpace, right?
Yeah.
Like they're the MySpace, and some Web3 company is going to be Facebook and come out of
Hmm.
absolutely nowhere and just obliterate the competition. I mean, the fact that you've seen, DAOs try to buy NBA teams, the fact that you've seen DAOs try to buy the Constitution, this other Julian, whoever, I forget his last name, but they raised like $43 million for this guy to get him out of jail.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, if you think about how our society works, it's money rules, right? Unfortunately, that's kind of the way it works. So Elon and Bezos and all these guys can do what they got to do because the money's there, right? I don't see that any different as a DAO. It's like instead of it being one person, it's a collective group of people
yeah,
that create a Tesla.
I agree, but still, from the listener standpoint, I'm really curious how NFTs will impact the listening experience and make that want to drive even more. Because, you know, I agree. I don't think the listener cares about owning the actual music unless they're going to be getting paid. Like, what's the point of ownership if I can't monetize what I own?
And I think that if there's experiences around you showing off your collection, that there's value. So I think we're just very premature
So
in people understanding what the value of it is for them.
I did meet this guy named Angelo. He is from Argentina.
Mhm.
Like he flew out here from Argentina, which is pretty cool. I showed him Poppy Blue and all that stuff. So he was really cool to see. Like I had like a South American connection.
Yeah,
So his project is pretty cool. You can enter your ENS address or like your .eth or whatever, and it'll like showcase like everything in your wallet, but in an organized like a Toby like structure.
love
And
that.
you'll also have like all these like voices, like I guess I want to say like causes in his area that you can like donate to or whatnot. So it was pretty cool. It's still in like beta, but it was up. He showed it to me. He demoed it for me. He's raised some funding for it. We're definitely going to talk more. Um, yeah.
You know what's funny is every time I talk to people about NFTs or like the fad or if it's going to stay or like their money went missing, I always think like from a developer, engineer, product, anyone who's in product, whether it's design or development, it's so hard for you to think like it's a fad because you're just watching people build and you're building too. So regardless if that product's going to fail or another product's going to be successful, you're going to continuously be building on whatever technology that you have access to,
Yeah.
whether it's building on cloud, whether it's building on web3, whether it's building in the most traditional web2 space, you know what I mean? So I'd love to see more people that are not product based get opportunities to build products. And like that could be its own DAO, like bringing people that have multidisciplinary skills and introduce them to the world of product development and design.
Yeah. Write that down. Um, or
Start a little Slack channel right here.
make it a
It's so crazy how we're still on Slack and we haven't migrated to Discord. We're pretty committed.
you know you know if we must we must. But if we don't, we don't. I'm like one of the so here's another thing I noticed. Like everyone's in, oh, what are you on? Right? Like what platform are you on to stay connected?
Yeah.
Like you on
It's
Telegram.
like, what a phone update are you on?
I told someone I have a Telegram, but it's on my phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I don't even have Telegram. They said, you don't have Telegram? Like
That's big
what?
for international, though. I think in North America we don't use it, but internationally, Telegram is like
Well, a lot of DeFi
prime.
projects are on there as well. So like there's this like I said, there's like 15 different tracks here. And a track is like a theme as an example. And so there's this space theme, and there's only like 14 people on the whole track. So I'm like, okay, I'll get on Telegram to learn more about how to build blockchain for outer space, like just to learn up some game.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I'm gonna be more prepared now that I've
more
had like
communication channels. I
yeah.
actually, I did a little
You
thing.
got more
You might
followers, by
enjoy
the way.
this. Oh,
We got
shout
more
out!
followers. Yeah, a lot of people. So I got like another. We're at 17. Whew. Um,
Wow.
but a lot of those people came from the event.
You know what that is? Curated followers.
Yeah, these are real people.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's follow each other.
um,
But I think one thing I noticed, one guy, won't say his name, but I could tell he had like a very good networking approach. He was like, he'll talk to you for at least 3 to 5 minutes, and he's off. Like, like you could just tell, like his
he was
eyes.
on a mission.
I'm like, you're not gonna build any real meaningful connection that way. But he was just willing and dealing. And I was like, I see you, homie. But I had conversations. I talked with one guy for like at least 30 to 45 minutes. Right. He's another engineer. He was telling about some boot camps. He's very interested in DAO onboarding the problems
Yeah.
that developers face. His main concern was like, as an engineer, I need to be compensated for my time. Like if
Yeah.
I'm going
That's
to,
how I'm starting to feel.
yeah, he's like, either you have to give me tokens. He's like, because that is all that time, I have to read developer docs, all this stuff. Like I could be compensated for that in a Web2 kind of space. So what's the opportunity cost? How am I weighing this on a scale? If I'm giving my time here and I'm missing on money, and I so those are some problems that he wants to solve. Really, really smart guy, really cool guy. The weird thing
I
about it
think
is,
that there's a lot of remember when we talked about, I'm always going to bring this up, of like tokenizing or NFTing my time.
right?
It's like, if you want me to contribute, I
There's
think
a
there's
time
two
token.
parts. It's like,
There's a time
I
token,
want
by
to
the way.
contribute to your DAO. What'd you say?
There's a time token, by the way.
I'm sure that there is. I've always believed in it. I've
All right, go
always
for it.
believed in it. But there's two parts. It's like, I'm either attracted to your DAO. Typically, I'm attracted to your DAO, right?
Hmm.
I've seen something. I understand the vision. You started something. I want. I want to be involved. I value it. So I want to contribute to this DAO. A lot of people want to contribute to this DAO because obviously a lot of people will understand the same vision too if it's a great vision. But not everyone is going to put in the time, work, and skills to make the vision happen. Some people just want to be involved to be involved.
I have a question.
What's up?
Well, why can't so as an example, if I'm attracted to someone's DAO, if I'm really attracted to someone's DAO, and I see like the long term benefit, because either way you look at it, if it's my time, whatever, it's an investment, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm attracted, like why would I want to invest? Why wouldn't I only want to invest time plus something financial, something
You
monetarily?
could. Yeah, you could.
I mean, because if I'm really attracted to it, I should be able to say, yo, this is Jack Dorsey in the garage. This is going to
Yeah.
be Twitter. I want to put in X amount of
Well,
fiat.
isn't that the same as angel investing at some point?
Yeah, so that's how I see it. You're really in the DAO, you're really angel investing your time,
Yeah.
right? Versus like a traditional um like contract for hire.
But here's the thing is that investing your time can be subjective too, because I could be investing my time blowing up the Discord. I could be investing my time sourcing things. I could be investing my time designing and developing. Like there's tiers to this,
Correct.
right? So the compensation should be on that tier level as well. I don't know how you would structure that, and it's up to everyone to structure it on their own. But I could see a situation of someone being like, well, if I'm designing all the screens or I'm developing all these screens or I'm building the product, right? I
Mhm.
should be valued at a different level at someone else doing other tasks.
Correct. I agree.
Unless there's like a consensus of everyone's getting paid out the same way. And how are you tracking that? I think tracking is the biggest thing of like, unless I come to you and say, hey, I did this for you. I invested this much time, energy, XYZ, or you recognize it. Like I've been very fortunate with some of the people that I've worked with where I didn't have to verbally communicate it. They valued me and they sent me crypto, right?
Hmm.
That was a blessing of like, that was just a good dude. So I think if you don't have that, or they don't recognize, or you don't have honestly, if you don't have the balls to go and be like, pay me what I'm worth, then it can get messy and people feel like they're not valued.
So I agree. I think it really depends on like what's liquidity of this DAO, right? Like there should be some level of liquidity. I also think there's like one of the questions that we had on our structure was, how is this DAO funded? And like one
Hmm.
of the things I'm still trying to learn here, and I'm going to be
I didn't answer any of those questions. I left that up to you.
one thing I'm searching for here is like, can you fund a DAO with contribution, like pure time and effort? In some cases, I think that's a yes, right? Like if the founder of Algorand, who is this genius cryptographer, right? Like if he was like, "Yo, I want to come in and like help structure things for free," it's like, all right, great. Um,
Hmm.
you're like at the ethos or like the crux of the space. But then again, is that it's like, how do you value that versus someone who does blow up Discord, right? And so I think there has to be some level of like a rubric of sorts.
And
And
that could be part of the smart contract that we talked about, and it could serve terms. So that's another thing of like, I might be contributing heavily for the first 3 months, and life happens, right? Life genuinely happens. So I can't contribute to the next quarter at that level, but I
so
can contribute a little bit.
so here's a question we have to ask: how do you measure intrinsic value as well?
Hmm.
Like there are some intrinsic things that can happen within an organization that really drive. So I don't know. I think all these questions that we pose is, there's going to be like
I
no
don't
one.
think there's any right answer off the jump, but are there questions that people should ask themselves throughout the life cycle of the DAO?
There aren't any right or wrong answers, but there all probably are some very. There are people who've thought about these things already, right?
Yeah.
Like you aren't first to think about these things.
Talk about how you've been comparing like the best companies in the world, because I think that's actually pretty genius, like the best companies to work at. Because
Yeah.
you're contributing.
Yeah, so I have a list that I created of just like the top 7 companies to work for in the world, what they offer their customers, customers, employees. They always say like the old adage is, if you want to have good customers, take care of your employees, right? Like take care of your employees well, and that'll then in turn, pay forward towards your towards the customers. And so there's lots of interesting things like some companies have unlimited time off, right? Nobody's ever going to use the unlimited time off, but it is cool to know
Peace of
that,
mind.
yeah, like if I needed to take 2 months or whatever, I can do it. So, I mean, my thinking is how do you take those things plus the commodity, which is now being human is a commodity, which is crazy. Like spending time with your loved ones, that's a fucking commodity now. And how do you incentivize people for being human? Right? Like, so now, I
I,
know, but then I mean, there's so many ways to look at it, and I'm really excited because there's so many like DAO booths here and DAO. Uh,
retreats that happen too. I've seen a lot of DAO retreats, not maybe at ETH Denver, but just they've
oh
been popping off.
yeah, I want to do the same. Like, I want
Yeah.
to collectively say, oh yeah, we have to go to the
You
Maldives.
know what I was thinking about this morning though? I was thinking about your offline idea of like being compensated to stay offline because I removed a lot of the productivity apps off my phone because I saw myself burning out and it was hard. It was hard to like create quality output these past couple weeks. So I just wiped my phone clean and I was like, unless I actively decide to get on the computer, that's when I'm going to decide, okay, this is my time to deliver, right? Because a lot of times on your phone, you're just getting ping, 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 and you're like, shit, I got to deliver when I'm not feeling like I need to deliver or I have it in me to deliver. And I thought about your offline contribution and I thought the smartest way this could work out is like a mental switch of, let's say I work for you, right?
Hmm.
Just for example's sake. You know that you're going to get the best out of me when I'm at my best. No different than a relationship, right? Like if this person's at their best, they're going to deliver their best. So at that point, it's worth your investment to tell me to go take some time off. Here's a spa package. Here's a family thing. Here's a nature retreat. Go get yourself right. And then in that next month that you come back, I know chances are pretty high that you're going to deliver insanely good quality content rather than me just running you to the ground and you're just giving me shit output, shit output, shit output the whole time.
Yeah, I'm curious what's the delta between that working for one person and looking at it from a group of people's standpoint and what actually happens. So, like, what's that variance look like between people who actually do good output when that's provided for them versus people who don't? I have no idea what those numbers are, but I do think that that's something that, like money should be spent to test those things out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the beauties of the space. Like, oh, I was listening to this guy about quadratic. What did he call it?
Anytime a word starts with a quad or quantum or a Q,
It was so fire. It's quadratic funding. Yeah,
okay. What does
quad,
that even mean?
quadratic funding, like the multiples of funding. And his project is called Gitcoin. I think they raised like $10 million. He's from Denver. I'm definitely going to meet him in person and talk with him. But his whole thing is just like Humanity Rocks. It's like how can you take these cool tools, protocols, not really NFTs, but these Web3 tools and like impact like the entire like all the small businesses in Denver. So like I forget exactly how he explained quadratic funding, but it was dope. which made me just think more and look at his platform even more. Shout out to you. I forget your name, the founder of Gitcoin, but we will be talking soon in person,
That's really cool.
in real life.
I'm excited to test out our smart contracts.
Yeah, I've been
Just on baby projects, like the tiniest stuff that we do. I want to see that immediate transaction. I think that's what I'm more excited about.
Well, I've been thinking about smart invoices. Really,
I've been using Hello Bonsai, so they're pretty Web 2, but they do like
we're
invoicing on that.
GitHub. Like I've been looking at like a GitHub repo for smart invoices. So
Okay.
where client XYZ needs something done from our DAO structure, whatever. It's like, all right, cool. Here's a smart invoice. You can pay it in cash. You can pay it in crypto. We all kind of have our preset amounts or whatever, how the funds should be distributed. As soon as they pay, split, right? And now it's just for us to deliver. Now there's another thing that I was looking at, which I kind of call the invoice dilemma, right? Like the invoice dilemma, pretty much mine is two-sided coin, one for the provider and one for the actual customer. So a provider can say, or a customer can say, hey, provider, I'm going to, do a contract with you. I'm not going to pay you anything. You work for 30 days to see what you can do. And then you give me an invoice. And then there's like the net comes in. So net 7, net 15, net whatever. I know, I get it.
I don't believe in this model.
Listen,
but can I tell you why I don't believe in this model? Can I just say it?
Hold on. I'm just explaining.
I'm already mad.
I'm just explaining. All I'm doing is explaining what's called the invoice dilemma. Simple as that. I'm not saying which route is best. I'm just saying what's actually at bay. So the problem is from the service, the vendor, the client, they're like, look, how do I know you're going to deliver? Right? Like, how do I know you're going to deliver? Like, let me, if you go get a car, you're going to test drive the car, right? You're going to test it. You're not going to really just buy a car online, though that's a thing. But you're going to get something up front so you can kind of hedge your bet. Like, how do I know? I don't have a relationship or rapport with you. How do I know you're going to do something, and be in good faith? On the opposite end, there could be a contractor that says, hey, give me a certain amount up front, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the dilemma for the vendor, for the client. It's like, well, I gave you this up front. Now, what if things change and the project? And so there's all these nuances. And I'm just like, well, with smart invoices, we should be able to do like a lockup period, right? Like they should be able to put some money in, lock that shit up, right? Cool thing about that is while we lock it up, we can index it and make money off of that. We can get APY off of that, depending on how long we lock it in, which is kind of cool. Which could even go towards the project of sorts, right? You can say, well, the project costs, 50,000. You gave us 20,000. We index that 20,000 we don't have it personally yet in our accounts because it's locked up, so we can do some work so they can know that, there's some skin in the game. Now that money is indexed, maybe some of that index goes on top of what they have already, maybe what they owe. So now they get a benefit to say, yo, it cost 50 grand, but I really only had to pay 35, because they took the money, they made money with it of sorts. I don't know. But these are the things that I've been like writing out and like thinking about from a smart invoice standpoint. The first layer of smart invoice isn't not going to be locking anything up, any of that. It's just going to be invoice, you pay it, you get paid, Marvin gets paid, Drew gets paid. We all get paid what we've agreed to for a particular project. And then we go from there. Like just kind of pivoting to that, just so if you want to get paid in crypto, okay, well, it's built into the smart contract. If you want to get paid in cash, okay, cool. Well, that's built into the smart contract. So it's all encompassing of what all of our wants and needs are. But then I thought about, why can't we fund a DAO like that? Like, why can't we fund a DAO through that? But that's not even that cool because it just means a lot of our time is spent on other people's shit.
On clients, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to build with all due respect, I don't want to build other people's ideas. I'm only here to build my own.
Same.
Yeah. But let me tell you how I feel about this. I believe in the locking up. I believe in getting a portion up front because historically, I'm biased as a creative. However, historically, as a creative, I need the money. So I'm willing to do the work. Historically, as a creative, I've shown you my portfolio, references, and walked you through my process in order for you to hire me, but I have no idea what type of leader or client you are. Historically, I've given you a budget because you and I have agreed that you told me this is the scope, and I've told you this is the amount of time and work, and we've agreed on that. But then you learn my skill set, and now you want to increase the scope or things change. Historically, based on the 5 years I've been freelancing personally, you as a creative, you always put in more time, effort, and energy
Of course.
into the deliverable, right? So I'm always more at risk. I'm always at risk because not only are you getting what you want from me, you're getting it 90% of the time without paying me up front. And then I'm waiting around to get paid.
Have you been
So
paid? I hate to ask this online. Have you been paid by what's her name?
I haven't checked, honestly, because the invoice was all over the place to the point where it was like it's not even the amount that I thought it was going to be, so I haven't checked. But that's
Well,
not what I'm
I
that's
mean,
not what I'm trying to refer to.
it's just a mailbox. You would just get a check.
I no, but what I don't even care about that because even that situation,
I was just curious because
when it's a longer play like that too, here's the catch: is when it's a role. Like here's some game for freelancers. If you just come to me and be like, "Hey, I want you to build my app from scratch," right? It's very easy for me to say, all right, it's going to be these deliverables, pick and choose which deliverables you want, because we can skip steps depending on the stakeholder. I don't believe in that, but some people are in a rush. So cool, you don't want to do user journeys. Cool, you don't want to do personas. You don't care about the value of that. I can go out of my way to explain the value of that to you. But you're going to be like, I need this in 30 days, do or die. Okay, cool. I'll give you the screens that you want in 30 days, right? That's an easier play because then you can say, in 30 days, this is the deliverable. I need 50% up front, or I need 30%, 30%, and then whatever the remaining is, right? There's ways of fractionalizing that off of the deliverables. But when it's a role base, it's a lot harder because it's like hourly, right? That's why I always choose value-based pricing, because you can build the buffer in that and say, I can account for bullshit. I can account for you pivoting your idea. I can account for you deciding that you want to build this other feature now that's going to take this other amount of time.
I agree. I don't have the perfect solution. I've seen examples out there in the world, and I'm just trying to tidy up what we already have in mind. But
I
okay,
think the dream is to work with people internally, honestly. I think that's the solution to like internally you have your own team. You're all exchanging work amongst each other. You have smart contracts because you know everyone has the same values and integrity. And then when you take on client work, it should be on if a client's coming to you saying, please deliver for me, okay, here are my
I would
terms. Here is my
I
smart
would
contract.
I would say that the term client should be completely eradicated, and there should
You hate
only
that
be
word.
there should only be partnerships,
That's
right?
true. I believe
And
that too. Yeah.
so in like this partnership, what we would give is like we could give you we can place you in a certain like position in our DAO,
I
right?
like that.
You need something done, you can be a part. Like you're not just a client; you're going to be long term. We want to continually build this out with you. You're a part of this bigger
Yeah.
organization where we can teach you, allow you to grow. You can have access to resources. Um, but it is not by any stretch of the means. It is not traditional, client, freelancer, client, developer, client, whatever relationship. So all the things that you just mentioned that you hate are out the window. Best case scenarios are all in play. It's tokenized throughout, so where they're overly incentivized as well to joining this with us. They have more they have more eyes on how the sausage is actually made, right? So they can have a bit of learning. So it's like, imagine, having work where someone can't see like a sprint board, or as an example. Like they may want to see a sprint board. They may want to sit in on those things. Some may not. But it's like, well, look, this is what we're offering. This is how we're offering it. Do a
It's
smart.
also the level of involvement. I've always accounted for that too, of like, if you're going to be involved as a stakeholder, time's going to change, budget's going to change. If you're not going to be involved as a stakeholder, time's going to change, budget's going to change, because that has impact on the process.
I agree. So, all right, I'm getting antsy talking about clients. What else is on?
New topic. Let's talk about something we like. I do want to talk about, because you've brought this up several times, about being canceled out of your own structure. And so I've kind of heard through the grapevines about the FWB commotion. And I want to brush over it, but at the same time, considering FWB has a pretty strong stance in Web3 space, I think, without getting into the weeds of it, someone who started it, supposedly, what do they say when it's like you don't know if it's false or true?
Allegedly.
I mean, Twitter might tell me otherwise, but I haven't gotten it through the tweets.
You ever watch Jesus Samara?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all allegedly.
Yeah. They're trying to save their asses.
Right.
So yeah, allegedly there's some chaos, and so this person's been canceled out, right? And I started thinking about, like, when you were like, well, if we created our structure, kind of like Black Girls Who Code, you shouldn't be kicked out of your own structure, right? However, if you do end up saying some crazy shit,
right?
Like, let's say I started Practice Empathy, let's just say, and I started with a good vision to start Practice Empathy, and I brought on a community of people that believe in practicing empathy. They have the same values, same mission. We're all voting towards things about empathy. God forbid something happens to me, and now all of a sudden I'm like, fuck empathy. And I just turn around and I switch up.
Okay.
It's pretty justifiable for the community to be like,
so here's my question. What if you had a mental breakdown? What if you went through something, like, you can't make a mistake as a human? Like, you can't, like, even if, like, and here's my thing with even, like, canceling people, and, like, as an African-American, like, as an African-American male, like, I've seen all the racist stuff. Like, people said, oh, Joe Rogan is a racist and all this type of stuff because he said the N-word. And it's like, I understand that. I don't know this human being. I don't know his intention. Do I think it's okay for him to say the word? No, I do not. But at the same time, it's like, maybe he made a mistake. Oh yeah, there's a.
You know what I think Web3 can solve is putting a value to that mistake. Because if we are going to talk about tokenizing time and contribution, okay, you can do that with mistakes. Like, I'm not going to make a mistake if it's going to be a high risk mistake, or I know the value or the impact of that mistake.
But what about they need a time period after the mistake, right? Like, you need to, like, be able to make a mistake, and, like, it's like with children. It's like, I don't like, at least with my kids, it's like, I don't really, like, you could tell me you're sorry, right? But that means absolutely nothing. Your actions are going to show me way more than your words will ever, right?
Yeah.
So if his actions then thereafter are showcasing, like, this person with friends benefits, this actions showcased then thereafter, like, he really did make a mistake. He had a mental breakdown. He hit, like, so that's kind of weird. Not weird, but it's an interesting juxtaposition how you will use practice empathy, which is all about mindfulness and wellness and all those things. So why would, if you did say that, why wouldn't we as a community practice empathy towards you?
Because I think sometimes people get away with privilege.
Okay, that's fair.
Like, I could use
speak on
privilege. I could use privilege as a way to get away with shit was hard, or I had a mental breakdown, or I had lack of judgment. It goes back to humanity rocks too. If you were raised the way you were raised, you don't know any better.
Right.
If you were in an environment that you were in, you don't know any better. But that's still a form of privilege. Shameless plug. But you know what I mean? It's I've been working with a doctor, Joanne Deltanti. She's incredible. She's an emotion therapy doctor, and she actually works with the police force. And so a lot of the work that I've been working with her on, she asked me, she's like, "Are you comfortable with this being involved in the police force?" And it took me a minute to be like, "No," and then I had to warm up to it because she's like, "We can't make change if you can't actively work with them, right?" And that's how I see the same situation is it's a privilege to say dumb shit. It's a privilege to be that naive. Because, like, you didn't have to really see it and feel it and have all those things happen to you or be exposed to it. So you're so detached from it.
So I have a question. I have a question.
I need to figure out my son's situation. I'm enjoying it, but I'm all over the place.
So, so I would go to assume that every human being, no one's like free from mistake, saying something fucked up, doing something fucked up, thinking something fucked up. Like I think
Yeah.
that unfortunately that's a part of being a human being, right? Like you can find me the most Mother Teresa probably. Let me stop because I'll get canceled for that. But
Someone's going to take down our account right now.
right, but anyone that's deemed in some high regard, like from what they're known for, can probably have something like that happen to them. Like when people talk about like musicians or athletes or actors, and so they do something outside of their realm, I'm like, I don't know this person from being a angel. I know this person. I like this person because what I know them for. So Kobe Bryant, as an example, he's a hooper. Like I know him for being a good basketball player. Any off the court issues is like, yeah, that's fucked up, but I know him for being a hooper. Like, and now it's like athletes have to have squeaky clean images because it's really
I agree. We're all human. However, that's why I believe in practice empathy is that there should be a level of awareness and humanity to you. Humanity rocks. To be a leader, right? If
ooh,
you don't have those traits, maybe you shouldn't be at the top leading some shit.
okay. Speak on it. Speak on it. Okay, so
I'm gonna get canceled by all of Web3 right now, but still, I
no,
believe that highly.
hell no, hell no. We'll fight for that. You ain't getting canceled. But I like it. So maybe as a part of a DAO structure, maybe there should be some type of, and I don't know if like the government does this with presidents or anything of that nature, but maybe there should be, or again, a rubric around like checks and balances for value systems.
100%. Think about the way that you get hired off of a degree, off of your education, off of even at some companies, they'll make you do a personality test just for your manager to get to know you and understand how to navigate you. So now you know my education background. Again, one-sided coin because you know everything about me. I have no idea the shit that I'm getting myself involved in and the type of person that you are that I'm going to work for you. I don't get to interview you. So you learned my education, you learned my background, you learned my experience, you got a bit of taste of my problem-solving skills. I have no idea the type of leader you are. I'm just so desperate to work here.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. But again, I think that some of those things probably already exist. We're just finding the best versions, tailoring them to a specific DAO, and going from there. So I agree. I think you're right. I think that the leaders should be held to that regard. But like, there's some
How do
people.
you track that? Practice empathy. Watch out for
Correct.
my project.
So that's called shilling. In case for people who didn't know, that's a shill. Um, but no, I agree. I agree. I think that that should be taken into account, and to some degree, really, really value. But I still am at the point where, unless it's clearly defined, like where do people have the ability to just be human? Like someone could tell me, like, oh, you said fuck in a stand up, you should be out of here.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It's like, whoa. And that's
I
kind
wouldn't survive.
of, but the think about it, like people start their own businesses in a Web 2 sense, or even a bakery, right? So they can run things how they want to run them. Like that's the like you create your own level of independence. And so, like there's a
Yes, and okay, so but the difference between a Web 2 and a Web 3 environment is that with a Web 2 you have the traditional CEO and it's like what they say goes. The whole company cannot agree, but they said it and so we all got to rock with it. In a Web 3 space, community rules. So the community does have the power to say, yeah, with all due respect that you started something or you're the leader or you're at a higher tier than me, I don't fuck with that. And the whole community can say, I don't fuck with that. In Web 2, you can't say, I don't fuck with that. It's like, all right, then go get another job somewhere else.
Okay, so what you're saying is that, and I want to put the onus back on you and practice empathy. So what you're saying is that you're comfortable putting yourself in a position to where the community can vote you out of leadership.
Unfortunately, with this one, yes. Unfortunately, with this one, yes, because the
Well,
whole
wait.
core of it is
Hold
practicing
on.
empathy. If I'm not practicing empathy, why do I have a place in it?
Fair. So here's a better question.
But empathy is a hard one too.
No, here's a better question. So let's take practice empathy out of the equation. You answer that question. So what is it for you that you cannot be kicked out of? Like which one can you not be kicked out of? That's my question.
um,
Is that 528?
no, 528 too. The whole point is to do sound healing. And so if I don't believe in the vision of sound healing, then why do I have a place in it?
So what entity is there?
Anytime that I don't, if I say anything, I don't know if they're, I think I just in my heart, I wouldn't feel right staying there and fighting for something. If I like, it would feel, I would feel like a fraud to
No,
be
no,
like,
not
let me hold on to this IP and let me hold on to this leadership, but I don't
that's too
fuck with the
granular.
vision anymore.
That's too granular for my question. Like that's
It would
very
have to be like something detached. Because even music is too attached to me. Like I would still want to do right by music. It would have to be some service.
so
Uh,
what you're saying is everything that you do that you're passionate about, that you're working within.
in this given moment in time, yes.
Okay, I like that because we're
Yeah.
learning, we're figuring it out, right?
Yeah. No, I can change my mind tomorrow. I'm a little butterfly. I can
Correct,
grow.
correct. I'm just asking questions. I'm not
I
holding you
know.
to anything. I'm not trying to. So currently, with any business that you have that you start, you're comfortable with stepping down, and more so being forced to step down by the community when you aren't in the proper leadership role, or you aren't at the ethos of the value system that particular community is based on. So if it's
Yes, but I think that there's an opportunity here because the community can switch up on you too. Like if they start voting for things that are outside of the primary way that practice empathy started,
Mhm.
you can have a whole community, country, we've seen it in history, turn on you, right? We all started with a vision. And as you grow and people have their own opinions and their own visions and it expands, it turns into something that it wasn't from the primary state. So I think that there should be boundaries. How you build those boundaries, I don't know. But there should be, maybe it's in that smart contract, maybe it's at the start of your DAO of
Well,
these
those
are the
and
values that we hold. If anyone steps outside this value, fair. Maybe you should take a moment to reevaluate whether you should be a part of this or not.
got it. Okay, so I mean,
And then there should be a term process. If we're going to talk about practice empathy, there should be a term process where like go offline for 6 months, become a better person, then you get an opportunity to come back.
I like it. I think I'm a little closer aligned with that than I am before, but still why I'm like, even like an executive treasury, even like the DAO that we start, I'm like, let's just make something new. Like I do, but I do think that everyone deserves to have some level of, because think about this: if you started all these different entities, all these different structures or whatnot, and let's say you got voted out of every single one of them, what do you fall back on? Right? Like,
I create other ones that because
well,
at that point my value has changed. So then I'm obviously creating other ones where they have
well,
the
yeah,
values at
sure,
that point.
but at the same time, it's like you can go create something new, but if you have a family, you have kids, and
Yeah.
you're creating this to support your family. You're creating these to not
Here's the thing is that when when people get exit packages, I'm not old enough to know this, but people get some serious exit packages because like the company just decides you got to go, right?
only.
But we're going to be respectful enough that like we're going to set you up for success when you go. I
Mhm.
think a similar model like that could work if like I've created something, I've started it, and now a community has come around and valued it in an egotistical way. You started the baby infrastructure, right? So you should get an exit package or some sort of royalty system so that you're set for your contribution or you're valued for your contribution. However, we don't value your opinion anymore, so you being involved is creating more chaos to the vision.
That's so crazy to me. That's so crazy. So crazy. Like I love it, but there's still, I think that's why I still believe that there's a good balance for hybrid approaches to things, because like n- you still, like, you can say, here, here's some royalties, but like,
You should get timeouts is what I'm saying. Like the same way that your kids get timeouts, you should get a timeout. And that in
that's
our
fair.
world that might be called cancel culture, but like
That's
take some
fair.
time, become a better person, come back, try again.
That's fair. That's I agree with that. I like that. Um, because to me, the earliest parts of the business is the hardest part, right? Like that's the hardest part of a business, is the beginning stages, when nobody wants to come around, when nobody is agreeing with the vision, nobody sees it, and you're the one that's advocating, building the long sleepless nights. Like that
Mm-hmm.
shit is the toughest physically component part of business. And so to get to do all of that, get it to a certain stage where you can feel comfortable knowing that it's self-sustainable, and then have these people come in who did not put the same sweat equity in as you,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
say, hey, you got to go. It's like, to me, at some point, it's like, well, what's the value of your opinion? Like, how does your value of your opinion, of your vote, the same as someone else's? Like,
I think making mistakes and okay, so you can make human mistakes, right?
mhm.
Get your little timeout moment, have some sort of level of justice for your timeout moment, right? It's crazy that I said that in a world where the justice doesn't really work. But on the other side, if my mistake is linked to the core value, like I can make a random mistake, but if the mistake is linked to the core value of the project, so let's say humanity rocks, you're solving humanity, you're addressing racism, right? And you have someone in the community actively being racist, what are the tools and mechanisms that the DAO is going to provide to either help that person navigate whatever they got going on, phase them over to a different contribution phase of like, no, you don't get to contribute the way that you thought you were going to contribute. Coinbase went through this as well.
Who?
Coinbase.
Okay.
This was like way back months ago, but Coinbase had their own moment where they had a lot of white leaders that were acting out of privilege and racist things. So in that way, it's like, how do you check people when they need to be checked?
That's when they make the token hire of diversity and inclusion role. They bring that role up in every company so they can have diversity and inclusion, and then they have workshops and seminars about it.
Yeah.
It's like being.
But like race is its own thing. Let's like with empathy too. That's what I'm trying to say is that it could be about science. It could be about like we're all striving to like preserve Mars, And then someone in the team, one of the leaders is like, fuck Mars. How does
Well,
that work?
so here's my thinking. Because I'm very like this. It's a very slippery slope when we talk about like cancel culture, right? Like cancel. I do not believe in cancel culture. I think it's quite bullshit. But if you're doing things like R. Kelly, right? Like if you're doing like that type of stuff, like yeah, you gotta go. Like that's a pretty
But
extreme.
okay,
If
so
you make a
that's like
statement,
harming.
if you say some words, you say some words. If you one day, if it's for Mars and Moon or whatever, and you say fuck that, and you don't have any context to what the person said it, you just had a sound bite and heard it, it's like,
No,
oh,
that's fair. That's fair. The society that we live in, everything. I love that we're not edited on our little stream. But what I'm trying to say is if you're in a DAO for a specific vision
mm-hmm.
and internally you have a moment where you're like, shit, I actually don't believe in this vision, you either need to eliminate yourself or someone needs to eliminate you because there's no point of you taking up that space, privilege, leadership,
For sure, for sure.
right?
I agree with that 100%. And I think the reality is, there should be a checks and balance for things like that too. So I'm fine with that. All right, what's our next topic?
Let's play our game.
Let's play our game.
What do I have around me? I have so much around me.
Mine is going to be so they actually have this game. I wish I could share this with you.
Do they have an app? I like the flyer, but what's the online digital situation?
It's just check out ethdenver.com and then check out their Discord. The Discord is crazy. So I don't know if this is visible. Let's see if this can be visible.
I can't see it. I don't have anything to write on, so it's okay.
There it is. So
Is it drawing?
there's this map of these 6 ranches.
Okay.
And this is for networking. So you join
Each of those is to network.
yeah, there's 6 different ranches. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna read this to you. Let's it says Witty Buffacorns. Buffacorn is like the mascot for the event. So howdy, let's raise some Buffacorns together. Connect with other ETH Denver attendees to become the best Buffacorn breeder in the world and to earn your place in the Witty Buffacorn NFT Hall of Fame. Witty Buffacorns is a physical and virtual hybrid experience that gamifies networking during ETH Denver. Brought to you by your witty friends at WitNet, the multi-chain decentralized oracle. Disclaimer: no Buffacorns were harmed in the production of this game. We believe Buffacorns and all other animals, both real and fantasy creatures, must be loved and respected. Join a ranch. Upon checking in for ETH Denver at the R Hotel, you will be given a badge that identifies you as a member of one of the 6 ranches in the game, each named after a presenting sponsor. To join your ranch and start playing the game, simply use the Witty Buffacorns web app on your phone to scan the QR code printed on the backside of your badge. The first to scan the badge owns it. Duration of the game. The main game will start right after the. I'm not reading all this, but
This is like a scavenger hunt from when I was in Girl Scouts all over again.
yeah, so it's a game for networking. You can trade. There's different traits, and you like upgrade the traits and all this kind of crazy shit. Like it's dope. It's super dope. I actually didn't get my badge. Let me see if I got a badge. No, I don't. I need to go get one. That'll be on my to-do list for today.
You know it's crazy, but at the same time, if you think about putting a group of people who are like event production people, developers, engineers, game designers, and so many other talented people to make one thing happen, the possibilities are endless. That's why I'm really excited for all these events because I think it's going to level up the experience. Actually, I went to Kanye's experience for his Netflix documentary. and
Mhm.
it was branded as an experience. And we missed the screening, so I'm sure that that was an experience on its own. But the rest of it was like in a restaurant. There was some people there. People were moving around, um, and so it was kind of cool to just see him like flowing on his own without any care for like bodyguards or anything. He just does his own thing.
Mhm.
But the whole time I was like, as a user experience person, Kanye puts on some like experience events, right?
Mhm.
And this was like driven by Netflix mostly. I was like, I don't know. This is like a hot take, but I was like, I don't know. This isn't an experience.
Mm.
This is a screening and a restaurant.
I didn't meet
I
this
want
guy.
to
There was
experience.
there was a guy yesterday who I thought was really dope. I got his Twitter handle. Um, he runs this company called Black Market.
Hmm.
He was talking about things like making NFTs rain in certain
Oh, wow.
areas,
That's cool.
but he worked with Kanye. Like he had Kanye in his slide deck, and he created like they reimagined like the future of e-commerce with Kanye for this project.
Hmm.
So he showcased like all the stuff that he did with Kanye. He said how hard it was to work with them, and he showcased some of the stuff that they built. And it was like, we built this so long ago. He's like, now we're reimagining it for NFTs because now like,
Yeah. Kind of like what we did with Thurs.
yeah, now the space is actually ready for something like that. And I'm like, I gotta talk to you, like
Yeah.
I gotta.
That's really cool.
But just the
It's
Kanye.
so interesting because I kind of went off. I don't want to linger on this, but I kind of went off on my Instagram after I saw him post like, "Don't ask me about NFTs. I'm making shit in the real world." And I just thought, like, granted, he's probably very annoyed with everyone in his ear being like, "So when are you dropping your NFT? When are you drop?" Like, I get that. However, I felt like it was a tad bit. I don't want to say irresponsible, but just like putting shit out in the media like that of like, I'm not fucking with it right now. I'm making physical shit because you're putting music on the cloud.
Right,
What's the real world? Like this whole real world, physical world, digital world, that left a long time ago.
right.
Unless you're only creating like CDs and
I
that's
mean,
the only thing you're doing.
there is a real world. There is. Let's not
Right,
undermine.
but if you're making music on the cloud, you're
Right.
making documentaries on Netflix. If you can't
Is,
just say
that
the
documentary
physical world, huh?
is a documentary out?
I don't think so. They're still doing screenings this week.
No.
But that's like I 1,000% understand where he was coming from, but for the mass public, I could see this turning into like fuck NFTs. I make things in the real world kind of movement.
You know, I don't. Unfortunately, like he has an affinity for the tech world, and like the leaders
Yeah.
of tech, and so I think with him it could be really just a sporadic moment,
Yeah.
a sporadic statement,
And
like
just plotting his own game.
right. So you never really know with someone like that, good or bad. But all right, our
Oh
game.
yeah.
So I'm gonna do two. I'm gonna do two words. I'm gonna switch it up.
2 words.
I'm gonna tell you my first word is just gonna be something related to ETH Denver, and so maybe we make something related to the event and have everyone at the event love it. And I don't care if it's a part of their projects that actually get voted on because there's like 2 million, no, $1.5 million in prizes this week.
Wow.
It's a lot of prize money out there. But if we have an ETH Denver, like we can make an ETH Denver rap song and have everyone listen to it.
I
Um,
thought you recorded your song.
no, I have not recorded it yet. I'm ready to record it. I need record. Maybe I should find a recording studio out here.
That might be it.
That might
Or
be
you
it.
just come out here.
That's all I need. I need the space and opportunity. Everything else I got.
You sound like everyone else.
Do I? What does everyone else
I
sound
just,
like?
I need the space and opportunities. That's like every human.
Well, I think
That's a good line.
let me make it a better line. I personally need to create my own space and personally to create my own opportunity. And with that, it will solve the problem of the song not being created, like any creator would.
There should
So
be a DAO for creating studios.
correct. So far, I've kind
That's the other thing that bothered me was I'm creating real shelters. There's so many ways of leveraging DAOs and leveraging technology to solve life problems. So the segregating Web 2 and Web 3, I don't believe in segregating
but you have to think
leverage technology to solve problems.
the information and education of the with the information has not been dissipated or dismantled for him to fully understand. Probably, you
Mhm.
know, like some people live in the future, and he's probably in his own world doing his own things. And you bring this idea that he doesn't fully understand how it all works together, so it makes sense. All right.
I think a lot of people have capacity to learn. Like if anyone was to have capacity, it would be him. It's just the moment where you realize, how do I leverage this for what I want to do? That's when it all changes.
I agree. All right. So
Go
ETH
for it.
Denver, this will be one of the random words, and then we both pick another random word, just because we could probably make something for ETH Denver in the 7 days I have left here.
Okay.
All right. So let me look around. Let me think. Let me think. Let me think. Um, you know, they have free daycare here. It's interesting. All right,
As
you
they
ready?
should. Yep.
All right, what's your word?
Machine.
Machine.
Yeah. 'Cause I can't even lift it. I got like a whole. See? You can't see. It's a whole ass machine.
My word is apple.
Apple machine. That's a cute
Apple.
apple.
Apple. ETH Denver.
Apple
Machine.
machine.
I don't want to go for me knee jerk. I don't want to go with uh the traditional like iPhone, Apple machine approach, MacBook. That's too common and easy.
I
I
didn't
would,
even think about that. Like it came, but then it left really quick. I was thinking about like apples being like the core, like apple trees, like core of apples.
yeah, I feel like nutrition comes to mind. Like,
Apples are your source of nutrition.
well, no,
That's
just
fair.
nutrition in general. Like, I don't know if there's any nutritional DAOs. I don't know if there's any nutritional.
There's the energy ones. I've definitely seen the green movement happen.
Yeah, but like
I haven't seen the nutrition one.
I've seen like the thing where like the farmers are putting VR headsets on cows.
What feed are you exposed to? Your
Um,
algorithm's on a whole different level than
they,
mine.
they put the VR headsets on cows and show them like sunny like days. It
Oh, so that they
produces.
have better output,
Yeah, yeah.
better delivery.
So I have not seen any nutritional DAOs with healthy eating at the core. I did see this guy had an idea about gambling drones, like flying drones, and like doing like a DAO for like bets on drone flying and shit. I was like, that's wild. I've seen a lot of wild ideas over the 2 days I've been here.
That's
Um,
interesting. Wait, these are all out there?
yeah.
Wow.
What else? So I haven't seen anything nutritional or fruit based. Maybe there's a fruit based something fruits and
Harvest,
harvest
harvesting,
harvest DAO.
seeds. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Is that what the saying is?
Yeah, there's like yeah, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Yeah, So maybe we do nutritional, some sorts of NFT at ETH Denver. Maybe
But you forgot my machine.
machine. Maybe there's a you do healthy vending machines, and
That's really brilliant.
there's only healthy food inside the brilliant machines inside the machines. And when you get whatever you buy, also comes with an NFT
NFT reward.
NFT reward,
And
where
now you're incentivized to eat healthy.
right, and this NFTs are sponsored by other companies, and you can get, maybe either like, I don't want to say like discount on groceries, or um I don't know, maybe there's some connection there where
I like being incentivized to eat healthy.
incentivized to eat healthy through.
Because here's the real problem is that people who want to eat healthy can't afford to eat healthy. So you could use a machine. Could you? I don't know. We'll figure it out. But somehow use a machine or a tool without modifying the quality of the food to make it more accessible to people.
What if we use machine learning as well?
You did good.
What
That
if
was a
we do
good play.
machine learning as well to analyze how well? You can't really analyze how well. Maybe you can. I was gonna say analyze how people eat and the things that they like, and give them recommendations um, based around that on healthy alternatives.
Or you know how we have like the farm yielding and the harvesting?
Hmm.
I genuinely want to have my own, God willing, one day, I want to have my own little crop situation. Like, why am I paying all this money to buy lemons when I can have a lemon tree?
It's a good point. It's funny. I grew up like that with like 27 fresh like plants and trees of like lemons, oranges, apples,
You
grapes.
should be able to grow your own food.
Yeah, that's how I grew up. My grandfather had all that on his farm, so I would go there and do all the manual labor for $1. But I got as much fruit and things that I wanted. Like
You were already in a Dow starting off as a kid.
yeah, more of a co-op, like a family co-op. Like we would go get stuff and take it to all our family members' houses. Like, here's your vegetables, here's your
Oh,
fruit.
that's sweet. Yeah.
Um, he would come over like big bags of oranges.
What's the food situation in East Denver?
So they have food trucks, and it's a company called Arbitrum, and they connect tokens to your MetaMask to give you free food there. I didn't get any of the free food, but they have open bar.
Interesting.
That's always fun. Get nerds talking with some drinks. Um, no, we're not nerds. You're not nerds. Ethan Denver, I love you all. It's been great. You've been so accepting. Um,
We can take pride in being a nerd. I think it's a beautiful thing.
well, maybe some don't like the connotation. So for those who don't, I want to respect their perspectives. Um, so okay, Apple machine, ETH Denver, nutrition, machine learning, vending machine, or just a building that dispenses healthy food.
I think next time you should pitch this while you're out there. East Denver should start incentivizing people to eat healthy, partner with local farms and farmers. Farmer gets an NFT, person gets the NFT. I could be making this up. I am making this up. But then somehow you've connected the farmer and the person. Maybe they can learn to create their own. Farmers might be mad about that, but I don't know. There's opportunity there.
Love it. I love it. I love it. All right. I'm getting hungry
I know we do.
talking about all this stuff. So I'm gonna go find some food. And
How
thank you.
long are you out there till Monday?
The 20th.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
Wow,
like,
I didn't know it was that long.
yeah, there's gonna be like a stage like pitch projects to get team members involved in your project. There's
What
again
day is your panel or your mentorship?
the 20 excuse me, the 18th through the 20th.
But we can't watch it online. We have to physically be there.
I don't know. I think it's more like the way they're doing this. I'm not even sure. There's a whole. I feel guilty because there's a whole Discord channel for this blockchain 101 and like mentors, and I haven't fully like checked in. So
That might be priority.
yeah, thanks for calling me out in public on
You
live.
called yourself out on that one.
I did, but transparency is key, right? Web3 transparency. Um,
We're all becoming better people every day. It's okay.
yeah. But yeah,
Cool.
so that'll be that, and there's a ton of stuff going on. I will more than likely start just tweeting stuff out as I meet people, to show love to other people that I meet, and shout out to everyone I've met so far. You all have been great. Um, Unfortunately, I'm going to keep a list of everyone's name, but I met a guy named Shark. He manages like social media influences. He has a venture fund. He connects influencers with,
That's a great name, Shark.
it's short for a longer name, but Shark is the short form. Angelo. I met some other gentlemen who are doing really cool things.
What's the gender diversity?
There are there's what's it, it's like 80-20.
Shut up.
I know it's probably like larger than what most would expect, but yeah, it's probably like 80.
But like according to my algorithm on Twitter, females are dominating, so I'm kind of confused.
Well, I mean, like look up ETH Denver, like search the hashtag, and
Mm.
you'll see a ton of people. Um, but there are definitely, like, I've been to tech conferences before where it's like 100% male driven.
Yeah, that's fair. And it's also people who actually want to show up there and socialize, I think.
Correct. So
Sometimes you keep out of it.
correct. So I mean, it's good. I think it's a good.
Mm.
Well, I can't say it's good. There's not a ton of. There's a little. There's diversity, but like it's like traditional diversity in terms of like ethnic groups that you would expect to see.
Yeah.
Like I'm literally like I was having a full on conversation with this guy Angelo. This other like African American guy like walks up to me. He's like, "Yo, I'm just happy you're here." I was like, "All right, cool, thank you." I'm like, I don't even like see it that way because working in tech, there really aren't that many African American people in this.
Yeah, but it's kind of like when I introduced you and Toby, like that feeling of,
Right.
oh, this is nice, right?
Yeah, but there was a woman who is a part of the leadership team of East Denver.
That's beautiful.
Yesterday, and she was like, yeah, she was like, in the LGBTQ community, I'm a woman, I'm African American, like, and I'm a leader. And I was like,
People just need to see her more visible.
right. And I was like, you're really what Humanity Rocks represents.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah.
I haven't not met her yet, but I do plan on finding her to meet her, and
Yeah.
share some love like what she's doing, and see if in any way I can help her, or vice versa. But we out
Enjoy
here.
your time.
We rep-
Enjoy your time. I'll be over here creating 3D assets for our DAO.
enjoy. We
Yeah.
need. So here's another thing about DAOs before we go, guys. I'm still trying to figure out DAOs amongst DAOs. So like, how does that shit work?
The macro and micros.
Right. So the way I explained it to people so far is, we should have our executive treasury, right? So this can be like a DAO of sorts. There's also a Lao. Have you are familiar with Laos?
No.
LAO. Look up Laos. That's another.
Okay.
Um, whatever this is, I have no idea what to call this. Executive Treasury. Like, I want like me and Marvin actually went through the process
Yeah.
of starting a DAO on Oregon, and we went through Syndicate as well, like the whole setup process on our
Mm-hmm.
last call on Friday to just do it. It was really easy, really simple.
That's
Um,
good.
so just learning while doing it together. But okay, so this executive component, I don't know what that's called. We created a token called NYN. This stands for not yet named. And so it was like, okay, we can distribute this. And this is obviously just for learning purposes, but I don't know what this is called. Um, I feel like Flip-NFTs, that's like a DAO within its own, like a DAO of its own to a degree. It's a marketplace,
Yeah.
whatever, whatever, whatever. Um, just this in the same breath, how I'm looking at ETH Denver, how they've structured themselves. It's like, well, that's probably a similar format that we want to do for Experience.NFT because it should be like, I
But
don't,
are all these companies is awkward, but all these DAOs projects, everyone that's involved in ETH Denver, are they part of ETH Denver's DAO? How does it? Are they getting tokens? Are they getting? How is the exchange
yeah,
process?
they are. They have what's called so Spork DAO. It's my spork they gave me. So they have a Spork DAO, and so you have to buy the tokens to get into the DAO.
Okay.
And then you do have governance. Then you can vote, and you can help grow the event, and you get paid back. So they have 10,000 NFTs that I bought one for $300, right? So if you think
Have
about
you voted yet?
it, no. So they have these buffer coin NFTs. They have a Spork DAO, and so it's all community owned, ran, driven. And I'm like, that's what we should be doing because if you think about it, like at least for me, I'm like, okay, well, I'm trying to talk to venues, talk to speakers, do all this shit, and it's like, well, it really should be a DAO structure for people who want to do these type of events, so we can
Right.
distribute
Yeah.
work, we can distribute all of these things more evenly across the board, and it can grow to something that we never even imagined. And so,
In a micro way, we're kind of doing it. Like everyone's holding down. Like there's just got the programming, you got the venues and structure. I got the branding, design.
we need way more.
Yeah.
Like
We
like
just need more manpower.
like yeah, like someone over partnerships.
Yeah.
Someone
Yeah.
when you look at what like looking at the magnitude of what they've established, man, shout out to ETH Denver. I love you guys. I haven't met anybody on the leadership team personally yet, but you guys are at the core of community first. And like everyone is so open in terms of like, let's help each other, let's grow with each other. I didn't even realize the crypto community here was so large, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like just seeing it in person, is really inspiring to say like, okay, there are people who want to do these type of things, and like hearing how
And
they,
you don't have to go out of your way to kind of explain it to people. It's just you're in a room with people who have the same shared vision.
yeah, and everyone gets it. There is, a little distinction around, the financing of it. Like people are here to make money. It's fair.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also people here who just want to have impact. And like the people that I meet, like Angelo, like that, who purely impact driven, it's like those are the people I want to connect with even more. And like talk about these type of events. So I'm like talking about the event, Humanity Rocks, our own DAO, practice empathy. I was talking to this guy yesterday about Rachel's project, the Fly to Earn, because they're doing this space exploration stuff. So I'm just kind of like, oh, you do this? I got a
But we
project.
got this.
I got a project
I
for
think I was trying to explain it to someone. Actually, Thurs was talking to Jasper about it. So I was talking to him about it. And I was like, I guess not getting into the craziness about it all, but I think the reason why I value what we're doing, ego aside, is because it's so vast. Like everyone's got their own thing going.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think oh, speaking of here's Andrew. I'm gonna put him on the podcast. What up, Andrew?
What's up, Jay? How are you, bro?
I'm good.
You're live and direct.
You're live and direct on our podcast.
Man, am I really?
Yeah.
Yeah, go on Twitter.
That's what I live by.
Hold on real
Really
quick.
quick, I was just gonna tell you, I'm pretty much almost done with all the uploads, but Thurs is just gonna send me everyone else's song because I completely forgot we have other people's songs.
Yeah, send it over to me and I'll review it. And if I have any questions, I'll just hit you up.
All right, bro, for sure. That sounds good.
All right, man. Thanks.
All right, man.
Are we getting live Pimler updates?
Live on
For
the
my
spot.
app to be fully developed? This is sick.
Yeah, live on the spot. We're waiting for them
That's
to give
cool.
us all the rest of that. They got more assets that they want. Like, and we had questions about like thumbnails for like the thumbnail parts you made on the app. So I'm waiting for them to give me all the assets, and then we'll be able to fully rock and roll. There is another part that I need to get worked on and really finalized, like this like the wallet piece integration. That should be pretty
I did that so long ago. So if you have questions, I know that file's a bit of a mess. I didn't really clean up the file.
No
but
worries.
The prototype should help you.
No worries. No worries. We got the core of it all is completed. And
it's exciting.
It is. I think
I can't wait to try to break it. That's my favorite part.
Oh yeah, try to break it. I'm just I guess I'll talk offline. I'm just so interested to see what I really want to do with our South by Southwest project.
Mm-hmm.
Like my code word. I'm like
that's not too code.
I'm like 1 foot in, like 1 foot out.
Yeah.
And I'm so close to just picking up my other foot and just getting out completely, because it's just not worth it anymore.
We'll see. I think sometimes, like you said, it's a partnership, right? So if it's a partnership, we can make it make sense.
So yeah, sure, and that's what should be proposed. But like me waking up at 5 o'clock and being stood up for meetings. Yeah, here's my hot take.
But that should be tokenized. That's what I'm saying. Your time should be tokenized, because if I know that that's going to cost me a pretty penny, the chances of me doing that are a lot lower.
But it's also the fact that this is an off hour. Like this is an off hour, or getting a call on a Sunday, right? Like, like I can.
But that's what happens when you build other people's ideas. You're on their time.
Correct. And that
is why you should build your own ideas.
That's why I want to reprioritize us and not that, because it's so much energy and effort and
that could go. It's potential. It's your own potential that could be building your own.
Correct. And I'm just like, I'm already getting up early for myself. I would much rather focus more on me. And I hate to sound selfish in that regard, but it's not even me, it's us. It's like
I think it's a choice. It's not about it being selfish. Just like that's why we talked about that 3 months thing. It made sense at the time that it did, right? Mm-hmm. Some time has passed, situations have passed, and now you're in an opportunity to reevaluate. Just like everything else in your life, when you reevaluate your finances, your relationships, your health, your work should be treated the same way. There should be terms of like, all right, let me take a step back. Let me reevaluate what's working for me and what's not working for me. Because as a creator, or developer, or designing, like you're just taking on so much because your passion is to build.
And I haven't seen a dime yet. Another hot take. So
that's why smart contracts matter.
So yeah, until then, I'm just like tomorrow.
Smart contracts matter. I'll leave with this one last thing.
Run it.
This is risky for my job, but I think people need to see the value of NFTs as immediate transactions a lot more. You put something out, I value it, boom, transaction done. Whether that's in music, whether that's in art, whether that's in DAO, whatever you want to put it in, that immediate transaction is the blessing.
I agree.
I thought you froze for a second, or were you thinking about what I said?
It's just the flow of funds.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in.
Check out next week when we have cool design assets.
We'll be posting throughout the week at this event. It's gonna be too much cool shit to miss. So yeah,
to catch up.
We'll talk to you guys later, and have a great week.
Peace.